Hi and welcome to another segment of Ask Dr. D. But I thought before I get started, I wanted to do a couple quick announcements. One is that I've started a monthly newsletter. We started that in October, so moving forward, we're going to have a newsletter each month highlighting some of the blogs, quotes, the videos that we've been doing, just chock full of lots of information. And I just recently launched our first ebook, which is titled 23 Ways to Improve Your Relationship Communication. And that is free, which is even better. You can sign up for the newsletter and also receive the download for the ebook on my website, which is reflectionsfromacrossthecouch.com. And on the home page, you will find on the left side, if you scroll down, there's a part to sign for the monthly newsletter, and then a little bit further down the page, there is the spot where you can give your email address and instantly be downloaded that ebook. So I hope that you will take advantage of both of those things. So let's get started. This month I posed a question, what is an argument that you and your partner have? And I got lots of responses, and so I chose to pick a few of those responses, and I'm going to answer that in this video. So the first response was, one of the arguments that she and her partner have is that he remains in contact with his ex. Now this can be a dicey subject, and it really depends from couple to couple. Now sometimes couples don't mind if the person is in contact with their ex, but oftentimes that's not the case, and there usually is a problem. What's most important in this situation is that she has expressed numerous times, and they do have arguments over this, about him being in contact with his ex. And there's another element, another level to this, but first let's address this contact that he has with the ex. She states continuously, and they argue, that she doesn't want this to be done. So by him doing this, or anybody staying in contact with an ex, even though the partner expresses that they don't want it to be done, is basically saying, I'm going to remain loyal to my ex more than I remain loyal to you. And when this starts to occur, the person feels like they can't trust their partner nor they can rely on them, which is something that I often talk about as a foundation of a healthy relationship. So she also went on to share that one of the reasons why he stays in contact with this person is because he doesn't want to create any enemies, and they also have a history of a toxic relationship and some addictions. So one has to wonder and think about, like, really, why is he staying in contact with her? Is there still an addiction issue? But I think that is secondary to the lack of trust that she has in him, and that by him staying in contact with her, he's basically saying, like I said, I'm having more loyalty towards her, and I'm more concerned about having an enemy in her than I am being a trustworthy partner to you. And so oftentimes we are more bothered by the message of the behavior than the actual behavior. So she's probably bothered by the fact that he's staying in contact with his ex, but the message is that she's more important than I am, and I can't trust you. And that is the message, and that's how it makes her feel. So for that person who wrote in, unless he's willing to forego that relationship, you're probably going to have more arguments, unless of course you choose not to bring it up anymore, because he's basically said, this is where my loyalty is, and this is what I'm going to continue to do. It's unfortunate, because a lot of times this happens with couples, and the person that's staying in contact doesn't really understand the message that they're sending, but they're sending one of not having the partner be able to trust them and listen to what they're saying, and listen to their need of asking you not to remain in contact with your ex. So I hope that helps. On to the next response. So someone writes in and says that one of the arguments that they have is that she's always placed second to everything else. And in these situations, I don't have a lot of information, but sometimes it's really depending on the couple situation. So you could have two people that are really busy working, and there's children, etc. But if the relationship is such, and there's an argument that she still feels that she's playing second to everything, and that she comes second or third or fourth in the totem pole, which is often common with women, then there's a need that's not being met by her. And can her partner listen to her and address that need? Because when people have these arguments, and usually there's more than one time, it's because one person's needs are not being met. So I could say to this person, is there any way that you could set healthy boundaries? Is there any way that you can start to move yourself up the totem pole somewhere where maybe you're doing some taking care of yourself and some self-care techniques, so that you feel, or start to feel, like you're not playing second to everything else. And oftentimes when we start to express our needs and express how we really need more of that, that we don't really want to be second, third, or fourth in line, then maybe there's an opportunity to hit the pause button, and for that couple to take a step back and say, okay, so I hear what you're saying, and your needs are not being met, and you feel like you're always playing second. And so I think that is a really important thing, because women, by and large, not always, but by and large, do a lot more of the heavy lifting, and they carry a lot of that responsibility. And we're just more apt to say yes to other people before we say yes to ourselves. So we really have to start with self-care and self-compassion, and hopefully that will help you move the needle, or help you move a little bit further up, and I hope that helps. The next response was from a person that wrote in, and they said that, whenever I express my needs or express how I'm feeling, my partner blows up. And so now I'm to the point where I don't really want to share anything. And so this is what she was sharing with me, and I find that very sad and unfortunate. But I know that this can be very common. And so my first thought is, all right, so is this person expressing her needs in a way that her partner is available? Meaning, I have to talk about a soft startup, and I like to talk about some things that I'm feeling. Is this a good time now, and if not, when? If you start with a soft startup, then oftentimes it can put both people in a good emotional space, and so that would be something that I might suggest to her to do. That being said, I think that when people are explosive like that and someone's expressing, I often wonder what her partner's attachment style is. If they're anxious or they're avoidant, then they might have a tendency to not want to be put in that emotionally vulnerable place where, okay, so she's expressing her feelings, maybe I have to express my feelings. And because men, by and large, are not raised that way, they're uncomfortable with that. And they're also more uncomfortable when the partner, a woman, expresses their needs or their feelings, because sometimes how we tend to do that can really flood a man, and maybe we're saying too many things, and so they feel really flooded, and they feel really overwhelmed, and what they do is to shut down and to avoid moving into that very vulnerable space as they get angry. Oftentimes it's not really the anger. They don't really feel anger. I mean, they're expressing anger, but that's almost like a more acceptable feeling rather than feeling overwhelmed or feeling emotionally vulnerable or feeling avoidant or feeling like they have to express their needs too. And so sometimes this dynamic is this woman is like moving in and saying, okay, I really want to share how I feel and what my needs are. The man might feel like, I don't really know how to express my needs. I wasn't raised that way. I don't really have the tools to do that. And I see this woman, this person, this partner of mine doing that. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I don't really know what to do. And I'm going to yell. I'm going to get really angry. The unfortunate part of that, again, the dynamic that couple sets up is that now she feels like she can't express how she feels, and what her needs are. So to that, I would say, well, again, is there a time that maybe is a better time? Can she, understand maybe his attachment style or where he's coming from? Or is he just like an angry person? There's always that too. But I often find that when people are expressing that anger, it's coming from somewhere. And maybe just her expressing is a trigger for him. But I think that the responsibility falls on both parties, but also more on him to really check himself and to start to understand why he's reacting that way. Because just expressing how you feel shouldn't have the other person, retaliate or respond, or I should say react with anger. That really makes a person feel unsafe. And so now she does feel unsafe. She feels like she can't move in. She can't talk to him anymore. And so maybe I would start there. Soft startup. Is there a better time to talk? Understanding where that anger is coming from, some of the triggers, and seeing if that's going to move the needle or move you in a different direction. And hopefully it does. And I hope that helps. The last response that I want to get to is a person that wrote in and said that she asks her partner to express how he feels, and he says to her, the only way that I'm going to express how I feel is if the house is clean. And so then she'll say, well, I clean the house and the house is perfect. And then, he starts to nitpick and say other things. And he still doesn't express how he feels. So, at a knee-jerk reaction, I might think, okay, well, that's a kind of primitive way to react to that. But I think there's something a little bit deeper than that. And so what I'm thinking is that you have to wonder what motivates somebody to express these needs and say to their partner, you know, I'm only going to talk if the house is clean. I'm only going to talk if this is done. I'm only going to talk if that, which sends a signal to me that he's probably quite avoidant. And again, maybe he's not really sure how to express his feelings. And so what he does is he puts ultimatums, like he puts these if then. If you do this, then I'll do that. But he never really circles back around to his part of then I'm going to share how I feel. There's always something else, which makes the person feel like this situation is futile. And it also reminds me of a person who can be very non-committal. And even though one might say, well, you know, they're in a committed relationship, you can still be in a committed relationship and be non-committal. I mean, you can still be in a committed relationship and not show up in ways that demonstrate that you are committed to this partner. And one of those ways is often that they just keep moving the needle and they keep coming up with excuses as to why they don't want to become more expressive or lean into that vulnerability or express how they feel. So they don't. And what they do is they pick fights. And they create a lot of negativity in the relationship, and the person maybe will throw up their hands and say, well, forget it, I'm not going to do anything. Therefore, that dynamic in that relationship will stay as it is, right? He'll keep making more demands of her to do certain things, and she'll keep doing those things, and he won't follow through, and he'll keep asking more of her until she becomes probably tired of doing that. So again, I would go back to, you know, what's his attachment style? Is he more avoidant? And does he have a hard time expressing his emotions? And does he know how to do it? And what's he so fearful of? Because there's something else that's going on there that's creating this fear in him that he doesn't want to express how he feels. And so he just puts out these things that it's almost like a no-win situation. So again, I hope that helps. I think that maybe getting to a point where asking him like I said, what makes it difficult for him to express how he feels, and because there might be something there, and maybe, like I said, maybe he was raised in a way that, you know, feelings weren't good, and there was a lot of negativity around feelings, or he feels too vulnerable doing that, and so what he does is he puts up those barriers to prevent that. And that's it. Thank you for watching the video, and if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to reach out to me and ask me something in particular, feel free to email me at hello@kristindavin.com or shoot me a DM on my Instagram account. You can always do that. I answer all of those. Again, we have the newsletter and the ebook. You are welcome to both. Just provide your email address. And again, the address is reflectionsfromacrossthecouch.com. I'd love to hear from you as always, and thanks.